We are 8 sleeps away from the start of the 2024 NFL regular season. The offseason, Sterling, is over. We're back. Finally. How exciting is this?
I'm stoked. I'm getting goosebumps. I mean, college football here. NFL almost here. Final predictions? Yeah, they're here, baby. They're here.
Yeah, it is time for us to get in our final predictions. This is officially our season preview show. Next week, we do not have a show on Monday because it is a holiday, apparently. And then Wednesday, we'll be back to give out our picks for week 1 specifically. So this is it, Sterling. It is our season preview show. We'll be going through every single division, giving our thoughts for every single division, going through every single award, giving a final prediction for who's going to win every single award. And then, of course, we will end the show with our Super Bowl prediction. Not only who's going to win the Super Bowl, but who are they going to beat in the Super Bowl? First things first, though, Sterling.
Yeah.
What do you think is the story of the 2024 NFL regular season, or at least what do you think the story will be this year?
Well, obviously, the three-peat.
Right.
Something that's never been done in the NFL. NFL, all you old-time fans, the NFL era, the Super Bowl era, it's never been done before. So I think that obviously has to be one of the main storylines. I think the Jets, who have been mired in irrelevancy for so long, they got Aaron Rodgers last year. They were excited. 4 plays in, it's over. Well, he's back. That team is better. I think if you're the Jets, you're sitting here going, all right, maybe we were a little too over-enthusiastic last year. Injuries can still happen, but I think the Jets, right, I think they're a big storyline. I think to an extent, it's San Fran. Can they get over the hump? Like, San Fran's been dominating the NFC, and I think they dominate the NFC yet again. But can they get over the hump? Can they finally win a Super Bowl? Not get to one, win one. It's been a while. Then I guess it's some of those other. I don't think Detroit really falls in this category anymore, but I'm going to lump them in there anyways. The Detroits, the Green Bay Packers, the Houston Texans, are those up-and-coming teams, are they ready to make that next step? They've all shown promise. They've all had glimpses of what they can do. Can they show the consistency to get to where they want to go? I think those are some of the main storylines as we head into the 2024 NFL season.
I'm going to throw out another one. I think this could be the year of the young quarterback. We got a lot of starting quarterbacks in the NFL this year that are young and have potential to be great. CJ Stroud, obviously, coming off a historic season as a rookie last year, but then you still have Bryce Young, who was at a historically bad rookie season last year. Can he turn things around? And then you have Bo Nix for the Broncos. We'll see if Drake May gets the nod for the Patriots. Caleb Williams, one of the most highly touted quarterback prospects to come out of the draft in quite some time. Jaden Daniels in Washington, the number 2 pick. We got young quarterbacks all over the NFL, and I think that's going to make this season extra fascinating. And I think this is kind of the dying breath of a certain generation of quarterbacks. The only one left standing that I can think of is kind of Aaron Rodgers. Everyone else is of his kind of generation, of his age, has retired at this point. So it's kind of, if you look at old quarterbacks, it's Aaron Rodgers. It's one more kick at the can for him, because I think this will be his last season personally. And I don't know how this season's going to go for Aaron Rodgers. I don't think it's going to go as well as a lot of people think. So
you have Matthew Stafford, though. You have Kirk Cousins. You have the non-elite. Well, Matt Stafford's close, because I think Matt Stafford really does have a Hall of Fame case. We don't have to talk about that today by any means, but they weren't generational quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers was. They weren't generational in the way that Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, those guys were.
Right. I think of those two guys as like the next generation after Rodgers. When I think of Rodgers, I think of Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers. Like, I think that group of quarterbacks. And then I think like the Matt Stafford group, the Kirk Cousins group is like the next kind of group of guys after.
Sure. And then you get, honestly, Mahomes is now one of the older guys, it seems like, in the NFL, and he's not even 29 yet.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Is Taylor Swift going to be a story again this year, Sterling?
I
Are we
don't
rolling
know,
that
man.
story back every single week?
You know me. If it were up to me, I wouldn't talk about it at all. Nothing against Swifties. Thank you. We appreciate you, and I'm glad you're getting into football, and it's cool. We're happy for you. I'm not a huge Taylor Swift guy. Like, she's fine. She's a great lyricist. It's just not my cup of tea. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
Are we gonna have Taylor Swift watch every single week, whether or not she shows up to a game?
I mean, again, I don't like it because let them be their own people. Like, let Travis and Taylor be happy themselves. Why? That's my main thing. I don't care, but I don't care about anything. Like, I'm a nihilist in that way about like someone's significant other. Like, I'm happy if I know you. I'm happy that if we're friends, but I don't care about following someone else's in anything, in any sort of sport, guy or girl. Who cares? That's their personal life. I'm trying to talk ball, okay? I'm talking ball.
Let's talk ball then. Let's go through every single division and we'll give our general thoughts for the division and who we think is going to win it. We'll just go in the order that I've written down, starting with the AFC North, probably the most competitive division in football.
Way to start here.
Yeah. Let's jump right into it. Is it the most competitive division? I think so.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say it's the most competitive. This won't shock many people. I think you and I are going to agree on this. That might shock some people. But I'm going Baltimore. I know they've lost so many pieces, so many players, but they're perpetually an organization that drafts well, develops well, identify talent very well. The Browns, I think some of their defensive metrics last year were unsustainable. I think Deshaun Watson is just a bad quarterback. It's been years since he's been good. Years since he's been a good quarterback. I think he's done. I think the talk of not bringing back Joe Flacco or even the talk of potentially trying to trade Jameis Winston's because they know they'd have a quarterback controversy, and you can't have that when you have 4+ years left on one of the worst deals, if not the worst deal in NFL history. Can't have that. I think the Browns are about a 9-8 team, 10-7 team. Steelers, they'll be around 500. Russell Wilson getting the starting quarterback nod today. Not a massive surprise. I don't know if it's the right decision, but that's the way they're going in Pittsburgh. I think the Bengals are a little overrated. I think I need to see Joe Burrow, what he looks like with the hand. I think that's a serious concern. Can he hold up for a full season? Their defense is fine. I think they have some pieces. Some guys I really, really like, including Trey Hendrickson and the bringing in of Geno Stone. But they weren't looking good early last year with Joe Burrow before the injury. Right. Now, he had the calf and all that stuff, so I understand. But no one gets more credit for one game than the Bengals. No one gets more credit than Joe Burrow for beating the Chiefs one time in the playoffs. It's absurd. Well, he's a really good quarterback.
I mean, really good they made it to the AFC Championship the next year, too. So it's 2 playoff runs.
Sure. But making it and actually winning a Super Bowl are two different things. I like Burrow. Bengals are a really good team. They're like an 11-6 team, 10-7 team to me. I'm going Ravens 1.
Jalen in the chat says Bengals, Browns, Ravens, Steelers. Wow, Ravens 3rd on the list, which is surprising. The number 1 overall seed from last year. Yes, finishing 3rd in the division this year. We actually agree about the Bengals. Bengals are a sexy team, a team that a lot of people like, but overall, especially when you look at some of their metrics, like my favorite one that here's the first mention of the 2024 season, net yards per play. Not very impressive for the Bengals. You look at their defensive numbers, not good last year. I think they took a couple small steps in the offseason to improve their defense. Not enough for me to put them above the Ravens. So if you look at a complete picture of a football team, the Ravens have the defense, they have the offense, they have the coach, they have everything they need to succeed. So I'm still putting the Ravens at number 1. I'd put the Bengals at number 2. The story for me, and you kind of touched on it, Sterling, in the AFC North, specifically the Browns, is their defense. Because I'm still confused how they did what they did last year. At home, they gave up 3.7 yards per play. Least in the NFL. Fewest in the NFL. On the road, they gave up 5.8 yards per play, which is the 7th or 8th most in the NFL. That's a difference of 2.1 yards per play between home and on the road. How is that possible? I still think they might have been cheating at home.
Trash cans.
I mean, a difference of 2.1 yards per play is insane to me. So I'm keeping a close eye on the Browns this year. Something sketchy going on in Cleveland, and I'm not going to be betting against them when they're playing at home, because if they repeat it like they did last year, no one's going to be able to move the ball against them when they're playing on their home field. 2.1 yards per play. Every time the ball is snapped, 2.1 yard. That's a big chunk of yardage per play for an entire season. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's wild. I was gonna let you keep going on your little rant there.
Yeah, I got it all of it.
Cody, Browns have their own Connor Stallions. That's great.
What I'm saying. They might.
Great poll.
They might. Not like there's no accusations, but I'm looking at the numbers, and 2.1 yards per play difference between home and away jumps off the page to me. That's sketchy. That's a lot of yards per snap.
All right, AFC East.
Yeah. Let's move on. Hold on. Whoever comes out of the North will be one of the biggest threats to KC. This is the best division, and all teams could make the playoffs. Yeah, I don't know about the Steelers making the playoffs though. Arthur Smith is their offensive coordinator this year. Side note, really quick: Desmond Ridder got cut by the Cardinals. Did you see that?
Oh man, he was your dark horse for MVP last year, wasn't it?
No, I don't think I said dark horse MVP. I don't think so. Maybe I did. I don't think so though. I did have faith in Desmond Ridder though.
You were in on Desmond. I told you, Ian.
Yeah,
you're dumb.
Yeah, it was bad. That was a homer move. That was wishful thinking. Yeah. All right, AFC East, another very competitive division in terms of the top 3 teams. Obviously, falls off with the last team, the Patriots. Thankfully, might just be the worst team in the NFL this season, which is going to be fun to watch. But you got the Jets, the Bills, the Dolphins. I mean, if you look at their betting odds, the Jets actually recently just became the betting favorites to win the AFC East. It was the Bills all offseason. The Jets have recently jumped them. So now it's Jets plus 160, Bills plus 195, Dolphins plus 210. What do you think of the AFC East this year, Sterling?
Well, I think they all have a fatal flaw. I think they could all win. They could all go far in the playoffs. But they all have a flaw that you're like, you can exploit the Dolphins' defense. The Dolphins' defense is really bad. The Bills, it's basically Josh Allen. Dalton Kincaid, and then a rookie wide receiver, Keon Coleman. Matt Milano injured yet again. And then with the Jets, it's mostly just health. It's like, okay, what's their flaw? Well, it's an old folks' home. They got some really good players too. They got some young guys who've already had some injuries in their career. Like on paper, the Jets might be the most talented. But can I roll with them? Can I roll with the Jets and Robert Saleh? I don't know if I can. I like Mike McDaniel and I like the Dolphins' offense a lot. They might be the best offense in football. But that defense is bad, man. It ain't good. And then the Bills, you know my thoughts on Josh Allen. I think he's the second best quarterback in football. They've made the playoffs. They've won a couple games in the playoffs. But they've lost a lot of their big name guys. You go first. You tell me who you think's winning the AFC East.
I'm extremely high on the Dolphins this season. I think the Dolphins win the AFC East, and we'll get to the Dolphins a little bit more later, but I think I'm very high on the Dolphins. I think people are underrating the Dolphins because when they think of the Dolphins, they think of the playoff game in Kansas City, which, yes, was a brutal performance by them. They got to figure out a way to play in the cold or somehow get the number 1 seed, and then they don't have to play on the road in the playoffs. But most explosive offense in football, and yes, defense, not great, but they did actually make a few good signings on defense that I think especially is going to give them some depth. You got Anthony Walker, Kendall Fuller, Jordan Poyer, Shaq Barrett. Like they made, not like guys are going to jump off the page, but good depth players that's going to improve this defense, I think, quite significantly. I think Mike McDaniel, another year as head coach, he's probably learned some lessons from last season. I think they take a significant step forward. And don't forget, the Dolphins kind of had the AFC East in their grasp last year, and then let it slip through their fingers in week 18 against the Bills. So I think the Dolphins take a step forward. I think they win the division. I'm low on the Jets. I think Aaron Rodgers plays poorly or gets hurt. And if they don't have a quarterback, they're screwed, as we saw last year. So I'm taking the Dolphins in the AFC East.
I really want to go Bills. I've been Bills this entire time. I've been Bills up until basically today. I hate doing this because I do think injuries are such a big part, and the Jets are the most injury-prone team, it feels like. I'm going to go Jets. Jets, right. Jets. I just, again, I don't believe in the Dolphins long-term. I don't. I think they're a fun team. And maybe since we are just doing regular season, I could say Dolphins. I just don't see them, when the calendar flips, them making any noise. I want to go Bills. I just can't do it.
Jets.
I'm going Jets, and I don't really like it.
All right.
Like I think all three of these teams have such a wide array of outcomes. Like I think all three of these teams, if you told me they went 13-4, I'd say, yeah, I could see that. You told me they went 7-10, I'd say, okay, yeah, I think I could see that too.
I hope the Jets are good so I can go watch like a meaningful football game, because obviously I live in New York. By week 5, the past couple of seasons, every single game sucked because it's the Jets and the Giants, and they're already out of it. Game last year I went to for the Jets. I went because Taylor Swift was there, so I went on Taylor Swift watch against the Chiefs.
Do I go back to the Bills? Dude, I can't. I'm going back and forth with the Jets and Bills. This is so
You already
hard
said Jets. It's locked in.
I said Jets. We'll go with Jets. Lock it in.
Jets 10P kid says it in the chat. Jets D is going to be nasty. Yeah,
their defense is
without a question elite. Top 3 unit in the NFL. Iain is making the same face about Sterling's Dolphins playoff takes that he makes when I crap on a golfer. He's betting. Yes, true. True. I like the Dolphins this year, man. I like the Dolphins a lot. Maybe too much. Jalen Butler was at that Jets-Chiefs game too. Yeah, got to see Patrick Mahomes and Taylor Swift. Let's move on to the AFC South, a little bit of an intriguing division. I think we're both kind of have similar thoughts because we've already kind of talked about this division a little bit in the months leading up to this, Sterling. So why don't you start us off? I think we're on the same page for the AFC South.
The answer is the Texans. They're a damn good team. They're doing everything you're supposed to do, and you have a rookie quarterback who's good on, again, that rookie contract. You bring in the veterans. You can pay extra. You can pay for those depth pieces. They're doing a phenomenal job of that. Whether it works out in the next couple of years, we'll see, but they're doing the right thing. That is what you're supposed to do. I'm going Texans. Jacksonville, I think, is almost stuck in mediocrity at this point. They're a fine team. But I don't think Jacksonville's a team that the Texans need to be worried about in who wins the AFC South. As 10P Kid says, don't sleep on the Colts. It's the Colts. It comes down to Anthony Richardson. He's looked brutal at times. Brutal this year. But we'll see when the games actually matter what happens. Because he looked pretty darn good last year. They nearly made the playoffs last year, barring a dropped pass by the running back, a third-string running back, right? With Gardner Minshew at the helm. A lot of those pieces are returning. A lot of the good pieces are returning. Michael Pittman Jr. is one of the more underrated wide receivers in football. I don't think the Colts get it, but if you're the Texans, I don't think it's the Jacksonville Jaguars you got to worry about. It's the Colts. And by the way, with the Titans aren't there yet, but they're going to be competitive.
They made another good move there yesterday or today, trading for that linebacker. So
their defense might be pretty salty. I actually wish Mike Vrabel was still there. Imagine if Vrabel had this defense. He had some of these pieces. It feels like this would be a dream for him. I'm not in on Will Levis. They don't have a lot of weapons offensively, but I think the Titans will be a tough game, even without Derrick Henry this season. They'll probably only win 6 or 7 games, but they'll be tough games to play against.
Jalen Butler says for his AFC South prediction, Texans, Jaguars, Colts, Titans. This is chalk. I think if you're talking about betting odds, I would, if I were to bet on a team, it'd be Jaguars. I'm just the sports book I'm looking at right now, plus 270. I actually do have that as my favorite futures bet for the Jaguars. But For this prediction show, we're not talking odds. We're not taking into consideration betting value. It's just straight up our predictions. And I do think the Texans are the team. Do I think they should be as favored as they are? No, but I still think they have the best chance to win this division. I would say one thing that makes me a little nervous is they do have the 7th toughest schedule in the NFL this season based on opponent projected win total. The Colts and the Jaguars both have significantly easier schedules than the Texans, which might come back to haunt them. So, but still, happens. I think they are. I think they are obviously a very good team last year, and then they had a very good offseason as well. So I'll still go Texans.
And that's a very valid point. When you win, you have a tougher schedule. You play the ones, not the twos, not the threes. You play the ones, and you're not sneaking up on teams anymore. You're no longer the fun, livable bunch. Now you are a favorite in a lot of games. Texans have to play that role now. Yeah. I think they do it well because I think the talent's there and they brought in those veterans. But again, something to keep in mind that I do think is a fair point.
AFC West, Chiefs.
This is easy. This is
we can rip through this pretty quick.
Division, yeah, Chiefs.
Can any other team make a wild card spot? Or even, let me word that a little bit differently. Who finishes second in that division? Is it the Chargers?
I say Raiders, but Raiders I feel like I'm alone on this boat. Betting odds don't say that. A lot of folks will still say Chargers. I think the Raiders have a pretty good team. I basically am looking at what Gardner Minshew did with the Colts last year, and I'm saying the Colts are a very similar team to the Raiders team. Gardner's the quarterback, not Aiden O'Connell. With Gardner at the helm, I think they win 9 games. They go 9-8, 8-9, around there. It's probably second most wins in the AFC West.
I do like the Raiders. I still think the Chargers are going to edge them out for second place in the division. I actually think the Broncos might be better than people think as well. But this is the Chiefs division, obviously. Every single year, there's a couple people in NFL media who try to get cute and they say, the Chiefs aren't going to win the division this year. It's going to be someone else. They used to do it with the Patriots all the time. Stop. The Chiefs are going to win. And barring, obviously, a major injury.
Yeah.
If Patrick Mahomes stays healthy and the majority of the starters stay healthy, they're going to win this division.
Agreed.
All right. That's the AFC. Let's move on to the NFC. Going back up to the North, NFC North. Both northern divisions this year extremely competitive. This for the NFC North, it is the Packers, the Lions, the Bears, all potential playoff teams. Obviously, the Lions coming off a great season last year, a couple plays away from going to the Super Bowl. The Vikings going to be an interesting team this year as well. Certainly the worst of the 4 teams, but still a scrappy team at times. I think they're going to be. So who do you have winning the NFC North? Is it the Lions again?
Yeah, I'm going Lions. If you know me, I have this affinity for the Lions and what they've been building up there. They have the best offensive line of any of these groups. And that was kind of my deciding factor, was who's the best team in the trenches? The Lions. The Bears, decent offensive line, great weapons, some solid defensive pieces. Caleb Williams, I got to see in game action. I think the talent's there, but I got to see how he handles NFL action. I didn't have the same questions with CJ Stroud. I got a few with Caleb. The Packers, I think, are a fun team. Fun team. I think people are crowning Jordan Love a little too early. I think he went on a really good stretch second half of the season in the playoffs, taking nothing away. That was phenomenal. But there are some times I'd look at him and I'm going, that's a dangerous ball that guy's throwing. I'm surprised you don't see more interceptions. I could see Jordan Love throwing a few back-breaking interceptions this upcoming season. I think the Green Bay Packers' weapons are really solid, not elite. They have a lot of really solid wide receivers. I'm going Lions.
I'm going to go Packers, actually. Packers, youngest team in the NFL last year. I don't know if they're technically the youngest team this year as well, but usually young teams will improve on a yearly basis, and I do think the Lions' record was a little bit better than how they actually played last season. If you look at net yards per play, I think they're around 11th. I think Packers were 7th. And now I'm just going to double check, but I assume the Lions have the more difficult schedule. They do. Not by a wide margin, though. So yeah, I actually think the Packers reclaim the NFC North. I think the Lions do get into the playoffs in a wild card spot. I think the Bears, what's going to hurt the Bears is even if Caleb Williams is good, I think it's going to take a couple of weeks or even a month or two for their offense to gel. Because this is outside of DJ Moore and like their offensive line, their key offensive players are all new to this team. Caleb Williams, a rookie. DeAndre Swift was in Philadelphia last year. They got some guys who need to figure out how to play this offense. Keenan Allen, thank you. Rome Odunze, obviously a rookie as well. They got some guys who got to get used to this offensive system, and that usually takes a little bit of time, especially when it's that many pieces. It's not like it's like one big piece that's been added. It's the entire offense needs to get used to playing with each other, and that might take a month or two. And if it takes a month or two, they're going to be behind the 8 ball when it comes to trying to make the playoffs. So I think the Bears are a year away. I will take the Packers to win the NFC North.
Okay. Another disagreement from you and me. Love it.
NFC East, a 2-team division. It is the Eagles or the Cowboys because the Commanders aren't going to compete, I don't think, and the Giants aren't going to compete. Do you agree with at least that?
Yes. Man. I think the Commanders will be a little fun. I like Jaden Daniels a lot. Jaden Daniels was my QB1. Maybe not talent-wise, just in totality. I'm a big Jaden Daniels guy. This is hard because the Cowboys are such a good regular season team. The key is regular season team.
All right. Well, right now we are technically we're talking regular season.
But I'm going Eagles still. If they have some injuries to the wide receiver position for the Eagles, it's not going to be good. The addition of Saquon's nice. I know no Jason Kelce. Still a good offensive line overall. And their biggest issue last year was their secondary. Well, where did they invest all this draft capital? In the secondary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they're. I know
and
that.
Brought back C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah, I know they're rookies. A lot of time, I guess C.J.'s not, but what's it? Terrion Arnold and Cooper DeJean.
No, Arnold's in Detroit. No,
he's not Detroit.
Isn't he? It's the Toledo guy.
Yeah. It's Cooper DeJean.
Why am I blanking on his name? Is it Quinyon Mitchell?
Quinyon Mitchell.
And the Iowa guy. Yes.
So they've tried to bolster their weakness. Howie Roseman seemingly always wins the offseason awards, and sometimes it's kind of frustrating because you're like, let's see it actually play out in regards to a whole bunch of playoff success. They've been relatively successful overall, but still, I think Howie Roseman did a great job again. I think it's the Eagles.
I agree. We agree on this one. I also think it's the Eagles. I like bringing in Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinator. Hopefully that was the issue and the cause behind the implosion last year was their coordinators because they cleaned house there, kept Nick Sirianni as head coach, clean house with the coordinators. If that was the issue, the Eagles are going to be back to, being an elite football team. So, still think the Cowboys are going to be good. I think we talked about last week or the week before, Sterling, their win total is 9.5, which we both thought was too low. I think the Cowboys certainly reached double-digit wins, but when we're talking about winning the division, I think it does go to the Eagles. And of course, there is that trend dating back to, 2003 was the last time we had a repeat winner in the NFC East, which is a crazy trend. Obviously means like nothing, but it's interesting.
For you being such a Eagles are frauds last year. Mm-hmm. I'm shocked you're on the Eagles. And 2, I think the Eagles would be a clear favorite if Nick Sirianni wasn't their head coach. I think Sirianni is a bad head coach.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if he tries to be Dan Campbell. I don't know what he's trying to be. I think he's in over his head, but there's so much talent on this team that even he can't screw it up.
Well, yeah, there is that issue. I think he could screw it up. I mean, if the coordinators weren't the issue, it's possible this team just implodes because of Nick Sirianni again. And if that's the case, the Cowboys win the division. But yeah, last year I did rightfully call them frauds, and they're like 10-1. But that's not because I have a personal issue with the Eagles. I looked at the numbers, and the numbers weren't matching up to the record. They won games they had no business of winning early in the season. I have faith they will play better this season because 2 years ago when they made it to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, they weren't frauds then. They were extremely good. Every metric put them as a top 3 team in the NFL. I expect more of that version than what we saw last year. But we'll see. NFC South.
Falcons.
Let's go, baby.
All right. So that was the NFC South. NFC West.
Oh, come on. Who finishes second? Saints or Bucks? Panthers last, right?
Yeah, Panthers last. I've gone back and forth.
I think Dennis Allen's a bad head coach. I'm out on the Saints. I was obviously, as a Falcons fan, I did not like the Saints last year, but heading into the season last year, as an objective mind, I thought the Saints were going to be good. I thought they were good on paper, and they stunk. And I think it's their coaching. Yeah,
they always seem to be better on paper than they play. I'll go Saints second, Bucks third, but I don't have a real passionate take because I feel like the Falcons are the clear best team in the NFC South. I think it's by a wide margin. I would hate that. For a multitude of reasons, but I have to deal with the Iain and then also the Bengals. That's a lose-lose.
That's a nightmare. Yeah.
That's a nightmare scenario for me. I mean, I'd root for the Falcons for you, of course, but yeah, the Bucks and Saints are almost like the same team. They're like the Spider-Man meme pointing at each other right there. I don't know. I'm a Derek Carr fan. Love Derek Carr. Sure. Every time I talk with him, really good dude. I'll go Saints because of the good dude factor.
I'll go Bucks number 2, Saints 3, Panthers 4. It would be pretty upsetting if the Falcons don't win this division. They have all the pieces they need now. So I've talked about the Falcons enough.
It's almost like the Chiefs, where it's like there's one really bad team, Panthers, Broncos. Mm-hmm. There's 2 teams that are average at best.
Yeah.
Chargers, Raiders, Bucks, Saints, and then the clear-cut favorite, which is the Falcons and the Chiefs. Yeah, I think if the Falcons were not to win, but again, barring a catastrophic injury or something like that, like that would have to be an immense disappointment.
And the Falcons, let's not forget, have by far the easiest schedule in the NFL based on opponent win projections. By far. Like if you look at the graph, it's like teams like this, and then like a huge gap, and then the Falcons in terms of the easy schedule in the NFL. So
if Michael Penix Jr. was the quarterback, I'd probably still take the Falcons.
Yeah, I mean they had a chance to win the NFC South heading into Week 18 last year with Desmond Ridder as their quarterback, who just got cut from the Cardinals.
Yeah,
Clayton Tune beat him out. So Jalen Butler will Captain Kirk be ready for Week 1? Apparently, I haven't seen anything otherwise. I believe he's good to go. Mm-hmm. All right, NFC West. Some people are selling their stock in the San Francisco 49ers. Trent Williams contract issue, Brandon Ayuk contract issue, maybe some turmoil in the locker room because of that. And I've seen some people start to sell a little bit of San Francisco 49ers stock. Where do you stand on the 49ers in the NFC West? Because it is a division filled, like there's no terrible teams, but outside of the 49ers, well, I don't know. The Rams could be good.
If they sell, I'm buying. If they're selling, I'm buying.
Yeah.
I'm all in on the 49ers, but I think this NFC West is a really good division. Yeah. Like a sneakily good division. Yeah. Seahawks, I think, might be the worst of the 4, and the Seahawks have a good floor. That's not a knock against the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks might be a 9-8 type of team.
Yep.
I think the Cardinals are the same way. The Cardinals are like the Seahawks, where I think they're like an average team, but they're real fun. Like, they're going to be an enjoyable team to watch this year. People forget that the last time Kyler Murray was healthy, they made the playoffs. I don't think Kyler Murray's a great quarterback, but I think he's a pretty darn good one. I think he moves the needle way more than Geno Smith. They're going to be throwing the football a lot. Marvin Harrison Jr. was a great pick, obviously. A great get for them. I think Trey McBride is going to emerge as one of the top 5 tight ends in football. Yeah, I don't know how good the Cardinals might end up be record-wise, but they're going to be really fun. And if you told me they ended up going like 10-7, I would not be shocked. I really wouldn't. The Rams, on the other hand, are interesting. No Aaron Donald. We'll see the trenches and defensively. Kieran Williams, he's doing kickoffs and running the football a whole bunch, but they did draft Blake Corum. Is Cooper Kupp back? He's healthy, but is he back to being Cooper Kupp, or is he starting that decline? Or how much does it even matter when you have someone like Puka Nacua? Matt Stafford, again, one of the more underrated quarterbacks in football, seemingly perpetually. Tight end wise, they're okay at best. Tyler Higbee's the almost definition at this point in his career of an average tight end. I'm going 49ers, but this will be a really fun division.
Jalen Butler says 49ers, Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals, which I think is what the odds would indicate as well. Yeah, I'm going to go 49ers as well. I think some of the people selling stock in the 49ers is a little bit of we've had too much offseason and now we're just coming up with things. Let's just relax. Okay, so that's all the divisions. Let's quickly just recap who we got winning each one. We both have the Ravens taking the AFC North. I have the Dolphins in the AFC East. You have the Jets. We both have the Texans in the AFC South. We both have the Chiefs in the AFC West. NFC North, you have the Lions. I have the Packers. NFC East, we're both on the Eagles. NFC South, we're both on the Falcons. And NFC West, we're both on the 49ers.
We had some disagreement in there. I like it.
All right, let's go through the awards here, then we'll give our Super Bowl winner and wrap up the show. And by the way, people, stick around because we have another interview to finish the show off with. Sterling interviewed RG3. So if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, you'll hear that as soon as we're done. If you're watching the video, then you can go watch that. That's live on our channel right now. So
that was a super fun interview with RG3. By the way, he's awesome. I'm excited for you guys to listen to that and hear that because he's very enjoyable to talk with.
Good stuff. All right, NFL MVP. We've done the draft for these awards, but now we can both pick the same guy. No odds. We're not talking betting value. We are just strictly predicting who we think will win these awards, starting with MVP.
Well, we can pick who we want. I'm going Mahomes. Again, it's gonna. I know there might be a little fatigue of Mahomes, if you will. I get that. I think he's putting up some gaudy numbers this year with the receiving core he has. Last year, his receivers were the worst in the NFL. This year, he's got some dudes. I think you'll see Mahomes win it this year.
Do you know there are only 3 players have won the MVP over the past 6 seasons? Mahomes twice,
Lamar,
and Rodgers.
Yeah, because Rodgers won back to back.
Won it twice the last 6 years. There's only been 3 MVPs in the past 6 seasons. It's kind of crazy. I'm going to go with, I do love Kirk Cousins as a dark horse. I truly, truly do. But we're not talking betting odds. We're just giving out a prediction. I'm going to go Jalen Hurts.
I could see it.
He's got the legs. He's got the rushing touchdowns. He has a talent at receiver. Let's see him in Kellen Moore offense. I think that'll help him out this year. The Eagles have a chance to be, one of the top teams in the NFC. I'll go Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts at some point in his career is going to win an MVP. I think it might be this year. Jalen asks, if not Mahomes, then who? If you can't pick your boy, who are you taking?
I would almost say Lamar, but it's almost Lamar fatigue too. At some point, it's like, okay, we keep making him the MVP, top player in the NFL, in this top 100. I know playoffs aren't a part of this, but I think it might start bleeding into this. I would almost go Josh Allen. Because Josh Allen has no one on that team, and I wonder if voters take into account if he has a great year, the Bills go 12-5, something along those lines, and they're like, yeah, his best guy was Dalton Kincaid and a rookie Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
I could see Josh Allen putting up insane numbers this year.
Yeah, if the Bills
running
have
the football wise too.
Yeah, if correct. Which seems to be generally kind of you kind of have to be able to run the ball as a quarterback to kind of be in the MVP conversation a little bit, unless you have an unbelievable year through the air. So yeah, Josh Allen certainly has that. So he might just drag the Bills to a 12-5 record and win it that way. Yeah. Offensive player of the year. So basically, it's the MVP has turned into the best quarterback award, and offensive player of the year has turned into the best non-quarterback award. So who do you have winning that?
That's a really good call. I'll go semi-wild card here. I'll go Garrett Wilson for the Jets.
Whoa. That's wild. Okay. You have Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and you go Garrett Wilson, offensive player of the year.
I told you. Hey, man, I'm going to have some fun with this. I think it's Garrett Wilson. Look at the numbers Garrett Wilson's put up with the dudes throwing him the football. What can he do when he has a competent quarterback throwing him the football?
Yeah, if he's competent. If Aaron Rodgers
I'll go Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson has a better chance than obviously you're making it seem like.
10P Kids is Gibbs. As in the Lions running back, the Lions second string running back behind Montgomery. Okay. Interesting. I like Garrett Wilson better than All right, if we're getting crazy, I'm going to say Bijan Robinson. How about that? They want to use him like a Christian McCaffrey type of player. That's what the coaches have come out and said in the offseason. Who won Offensive Player of the Year last year? Christian McCaffrey. Bijan Robinson. That's a better pick than Garrett Wilson. I do like Jalen Butler's Saquon Barkley as well. Saquon Barkley, it kind of happened early in the offseason, so we've kind of stopped talking about it. But he's gone from quite literally the worst offensive line to one of the best offensive lines this offseason. So it's fascinating to see what he's going to be able to do. And with the Giants, not only terrible offensive line, but played in an offense where he was the only weapon. So they just stack the box against him. You can't just stack the box against the Eagles. They'll kill you through the air if you do that.
But you can stack the box because that's this podcast, baby.
Fact. All right, Garrett Wilson and Bijan Robinson. I wasn't gonna go I wasn't gonna go Bijan, but if you're getting crazy with Garrett Wilson, I'm getting crazy.
That's been fun with it.
Offensive Rookie of the Year is it Caleb Williams. He's by far the betting favorite.
Jaden Daniels.
Okay, he's second on the odds list. I'm gonna go Marvin Harrison.
Okay.
It's been receiver 2 of the last 3 years, going into a great situation. Not only is Kyler Murray obviously going to be capable of getting him the ball, he's also going to be the clear number 1 option in the passing game. So I'll go Marvin.
Yeah, that's a good call. I mean, Jaden Daniels has not a good team, not a good situation by any means. I like the talent of Jaden Daniels, and that's why I'm going with it.
All right, I don't hate it. I think it's got to be one of those 3 guys: Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, or Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'm going to go with Laiatu Latu. I talked about him there when we did the draft for Defensive Rookies of the Year. I think he's the most talented player. I bet on him to be the first defensive player taken in the draft, and he was. Ton of talent at UCLA, just had that injury at Washington, which made people a little bit nervous of him. But I think as long as he stays healthy, I think he's going to be extremely good. And the Colts also have Kwity Paye on the defensive line. So teams aren't going to be able to just double team Laiatu Latu. I think that's going to free some things up. So I will take him to be Defensive Rookie of the Year.
That's a good call. I'm going back and forth with this.
Oh, and Latu has recently become the favorite, actually. It was Dallas Turner, but I'm just check the updated odds now. Laiatu is now the 4-1 favorite.
Oh, man. I'll go Quinyon Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of between Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah, I think
I'll go Quinyon.
Yeah, I think Mitchell's more likely to get more playing time.
And the reason is the Eagles' defense was so bad. The secondary was so bad last year. I think you'll see a drastic change if he's even competent, and then you'll see him. I mean, rookie cornerbacks. It's Defensive Player of the Year is almost all edge rushers. Defensive Rookie of the Year is kind of a mix. So I'll go Mitchell.
All right, I like it. Comeback Player of the Year, which they have now clarified the definition for that. Now it does have to be someone who came off some kind of injury, I believe. Whereas before, like last year, they've given it to players who just are coming off bad seasons or irrelevant seasons. Now I think you have to be coming back off of some type of injury. A lot of potential candidates for this. You got Joe Burrow coming off an injury. You got Kirk Cousins coming off an injury. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, would be the big one. So you got some interesting options for Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, you've heard me talk about the Jets. I'll go Rodgers again. I hate that a lot of my bets are hanging on the arm or tendons of a 40-plus-year-old dude, but
yeah,
I'm going Rodgers again. If I've Garrett Wilson, if I have the Jets winning the AFC East, then that means Rodgers is Comeback Player of the Year.
Rodgers is the betting favorite. I hate that pick. I don't think Rodgers is going to have a good year, and I think he might even get hurt again. I will go with my guy Kirk, obviously.
I think Joe Burrow is a really smart one, too.
Right now, it's Rodgers, the favorite, 2-1. Joe Burrow, right behind him, plus 220. Then a bit of a drop-off. Then Kirk Cousins, 5-1. And then Anthony Richardson, plus 750. I would have considered Nick Chubb, except for the fact that now he's going to miss at least 4 weeks. So,
yep. Not great.
Yeah. So, it's looking like it's likely going to be Rodgers, Burrow, Cousins, or Richardson. All right, Coach of the Year.
Man, this was hard. Might go DeMeco Ryans.
Yep. Good pick.
You know,
I mean, the thing with Coach of the Year literally could be anyone.
You're trying to think of, are they having too much hype right now? Yeah, I think I'll go to D'Amico Ryans.
I'll go Raheem Morris. I'm kind of loading up on Falcons, unfortunately, but I do think he is in a good position.
I think Dan Campbell's a solid choice, by the way. I see Dan Campbell in the chat as a smart one.
Yeah. We did miss one that for some reason I did not write in the notes here. Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh,
I'm going to go TJ Watt. I thought he was a Defensive Player of the Year last year. I'm still confused. We talked about this on the show. I don't know why they gave to Myles Garrett unless I'm missing something. TJ Watt had better stats than him in every single area. Tackles, sacks, tackles for a loss, pass deflections, forced fumbles, but they gave it to Myles Garrett. Still confuses me. TJ Watt is the best defensive player in the NFL. Shout out Max Crosby. I think he's going to be really in the mix this year, but I'll say TJ Watt.
Yeah, I'll go Mad Max.
All right, I like it.
I'll go Max Crosby.
Yeah, I like it. You won't hear an argument from me. So there we go. Those are our award predictions. So let's wrap up with this. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? Who do they beat in the Super Bowl? And I'll get your pick, and then I'll get a second pick from you because you can say what your pick is.
It's the Chiefs. Chiefs 3-peat.
Of course.
Why would I go?
Who do they beat?
It's just hard. I hate going back to back, but yeah. I think the Niners are the best team in the NFC. Like I hate doing this because it's not fun. It's not enjoyable, and the odds of it happening are slim. But if you're asking me right now, who do I think the best team in the AFC is, the best team in the NFC is, and who do I think will meet? I think it's the Chiefs, and I think it's the 49ers.
Yeah. Now give me a second prediction other than Chiefs.
Man.
Let's say Patrick Mahomes, week 1, God forbid this happens, tears his ACL, he's out for the year.
Oh, bleep you, dude. Bleep you.
I'll knock on wood. I don't want it to happen.
Okay.
Football's better with Patrick Mahomes, but I want to pick that's not your Chiefs.
If he's out, then I'd go Ravens.
Okay.
Because that means the Ravens can finally win a playoff game.
Yeah.
So I'd go Ravens, and then I would switch it up, and I'd go Eagles in the NFC then.
Okay.
Birds on the East Coast.
I like it, the Bird Bowl. Yeah, I think the obvious one is an 49ers Chiefs rematch. I'm not going to say an obvious one. I'll give out a fun one here. I'm going to say the Dolphins beat the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. I said I was high on the Dolphins. Give me the Dolphins.
Now I know you're lying. Can't argue about their offense.
Listen, I have a soft spot for teams and athletes who choke in big spots. Sometimes you just need to get there enough times, and it eventually is going to work out in your favor. We saw it with Xander Schauffele in golf this year. I think the Cowboys are kind of the Xander Schauffele of the NFL. Knock on the door enough, eventually the door is going to open. I think the Cowboys are still obviously an extremely talented team. I think they obviously get back to the playoffs. You just need a couple things to go your way, and you can end up in the Super Bowl. Now, that being said, I still think they lose the Super Bowl. But I think they'll get there. They lose to the Dolphins. Dolphins over Cowboys.
All right. I hate it.
Jalen says, I would love for the Chiefs to three-peat, but I think something will get in the way in a long season. My prediction, Eagles over Bengals. It's tough to three-peat. Some would say it's never been done.
That just means that they're due. The Chiefs are due.
Yeah, maybe. I don't want it to happen. That's not... Give me someone else. Give me someone.
Okay, hear me out. Would you take this, Ian? Would you take this right now?
Okay.
Falcons make the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They make it. Okay, you said yes. But
then they lose to the Chiefs now.
And the Chiefs three-peat.
I can't take another championship loss. I'd rather us miss the playoffs and get the Super Bowl and lose. I can't handle that again. Imagine we get back to the Super Bowl and then blow another 28-3 lead, or it's like a 29-3 lead for some reason this time.
27-3, so you're making progress.
Please don't put me through that again. You don't like my Dolphins-Cowboys prediction?
No, I think it's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 years ago. I predicted the Colts to beat the Rams, which was one of my worst predictions.
That was the all-time worst, and then you had Matt Ryan as the MVP.
As the MVP, yeah, that was a tough one.
That was maybe
I think they were like two of the
first
worst
time
5
meeting
teams. Yeah.
And one of my first time meeting Ian, I'm like, this is Iain McBetts. Yeah. This is the bet guy.
It's the worst preseason prediction I've ever had. They were like bottom 5 teams, both.
You ready for Survivor again, Ian? You ready to lose again?
Yes, we will be doing our Survivor competition once again.
Keep your balls on a shelf.
Yeah, I'm going to win this time. And I mean, I set a pretty high bar with the prize I got for you last year. So
yeah, you did.
But also the prize is determined by how far the winner does go. So like, even if if the winner only makes it to week 5, the prize isn't going to be that good. You made it to what, week 12 or 13 last year?
I think it was 14.
Yeah.
And I didn't even use the Eagles or Ravens like an idiot.
Yeah. Jalen Butler also does not like my Dolphins Cowboys. It's a gross one, but if it happens, I'm going to look like a genius.
Good luck.
Thank you. All right, that has been our season preview episode of the podcast. We will be back next no-show Monday because of Labor Day, I believe, is the holiday, and then we'll be back Wednesday to talk week 1 of the 2024 NFL season. Sterling, final thoughts.
Mizzou's football season starts tomorrow.
There you go.
Let's bleep and go.
Who do they have?
Oh, Murray State. They got the Racers. Huge game.
Tough one.
Huge.
All right. Football's back. And Wednesday we're at 5 p.m. Eastern next week.
Yeah.
Is that the permanent time moving forward on Wednesdays?
Yes.
Or is that just next week?
That's the permanent time.
5 p.m. Eastern moving forward. All right. On Wednesdays. And we will be back on Mondays the week after, and that's at 9:30. So the schedule for the season: Mondays 9:30 a.m. Eastern, Wednesdays 5 p.m. Eastern. Mondays will be a recap plus a preview for Monday Night Football. Wednesdays will be a preview of that week's games. And coming up right now, stick around if you're listening to the audio version of this because you will hear Sterling's interview with RG3. If you're watching the video, the live stream of this, you can go watch the video version of that interview between Sterling and RG3 right now. Thank you all so much for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a like. Give us a comment down below of your Super Bowl prediction for this season. And we will talk to you all next week. Football is back. Goodbye.